So what? You're the CEO and the chief financial officer and the chief marketing officer and the receptionist and the secretary and the customer service representative. That doesn't mean that you won't eventually get to the point where you need to grow your team and hire your first employee. You must hire somebody, right? Or you are going to lose your mind. I get it. But who do you hire first? Who should your first choice actually be? What should you look for when you make the decision to bring that first person onto your team and spend that money that is totally stressing you out to think of parting with? Well, if you've asked yourself that question because you are at that point in your entrepreneurial journey where you think or know it's time to expand your team and you just don't know who is going to be the most valuable employee to start with, then keep watching, because today I'm going to put my entrepreneurial inspiration and HR hat on and walk you through how to figure out exactly who to bring into your business first. Okay? So let's get to work. CPTV, you an entrepreneur, I got what you need. Hey there, my loves. Welcome back to CPTV. I am CP. And if this is your first time here, this is the place for aspiring entrepreneurs and growing entrepreneurs who really want to turn their ideas and passions into businesses, start them up, and ultimately grow those businesses into 6- and 7-figure empires so that they can achieve freedom. If that sounds like you, then you are in the right place. And I want to ask you to subscribe. Make sure you subscribe, share this information, take a look around, check out some of my other videos, because I think they are really going to help you get along with that entrepreneurial journey. So today we are going to talk about how to hire your very first employee. And I know it is an exciting time for you, but there are some steps that I want to walk you through on exactly how to figure out who you should spend that hard-earned money on first. And let's get to those steps right now. Step number 1, figure out the financials. Figure out how much money you have. Now, in order to do this, I want you to first take a look at your financials. And if you don't have financials, then you really want to go back and start there. In my Startup Business series, I talk about setting up your finances when you are first setting up your business and getting that LLC. And I wasn't joking, because you need to have financial activity in order to really determine if you can afford someone. Oftentimes, we automatically think that we can't. But most of the time, if you're at that point where you've got such a volume of support and customers and sales and revenue coming in that you think it's actually time to bring someone onto your team, then 9 times out of 10, you can probably afford someone. But the only way that you're going to know for sure is if you review those financials. Now, look at those financials and determine what you can actually pay on a monthly basis. I don't care what that number is. If you find out that the number is $100 or $250 or $400 or $500, whatever it is, have an idea. Do not assume that any number that you come up with is going to be too low, because there are a ton of opportunities and folks out there who will join your team for as little as $100 or $150 a month. It all depends upon what you're going to have them do and how many hours you actually want them to work. But I tell you what, if you are feeling, like I said in the very beginning of this video, completely overwhelmed, not hiring someone is not going to be in your best interest, because oftentimes your business is not going to get more customers, make more money, and drive more revenue until you bring someone onto your team to help you out. You will get to a point where you are capped out emotionally and physically as an independent solopreneur. And if you've determined that you're at that point, do not be afraid. As long as you know how much money you have to spend, then you're going to be halfway there in determining exactly what you can afford. Now, part-time is okay. I want you to understand that. You don't have to go from 0 to 10,000 right off the rep. You can start with someone for 10 hours a month, or 2 or 5 hours a week. You can start with someone just to help you out with specific tasks. That's what I mean when I say part-time is okay. You also have to realize that you may have to take less in order to make more. When I hired my very first employee, I focused around an administrative assistant. I needed someone to be able to field my schedule, work with me, and also handle customer service requests and actually process claims and information that they were calling in with. I was spending so much of my time doing that I could no longer be doing exactly what my genius zone was, which was selling my services. And I couldn't sell, I couldn't prospect, I couldn't get out there and meet more people and drive more sales because I was spending probably 50 to 60% of my time servicing my existing clients. I understand that existing clients and retention is important, but so was new business. So for me, I knew that if I could get somebody on board, even if it was just 2 to 5 hours a week to help me out, that would give me 2 to 5 hours more per week to go out there and make more sales. And within my first 60 to 90 days, I was making twice as much as I was making before and able to increase that person's schedule. But I first had to take a bit of a pay cut. When I first looked at my financials, I realized I really do need somebody because of my customer service volume for at least 5 hours a week. That put me around 20 hours a month. And in that market, it was actually 20 years ago, I really needed to make sure I was paying someone between 15 and 20 bucks an hour. So I was looking at about 400 bucks a month. And my numbers showed me that I could really only afford about 300. So I just took a pay cut. I didn't give myself that extra $100. I put that into my first new hire or administrative assistant, Kitty, because I would rather sacrifice. And trust you me, within 3 months, my administrative assistant was making 3 times that much and working 3 times as many hours. It will happen. It will give you progress. You can do it as well. And I want you to also think about this. When you're figuring out who to hire, realize that someone who is less experienced will work for you as well. Especially when I didn't have a whole lot of money to hire folks, I would hire folks that I knew had a little bit of experience or no experience at all, but they had the qualities and the skills and the traits for me to train them up. They're usually less expensive employees. And yeah, you might hire them and they ultimately might be leaving you in 2 to 3 years because you're training them up, but ultimately they will still follow direction. And if they still have the ability to train, to be coachable, and to grow into exactly what you need, you might want to go ahead and take the risk. Bottom line is, less experienced people are going to be cheaper. And if you really don't have a whole lot of money and you're trying to figure out who you should hire, it's okay to get someone who is less experienced that you can train up and that's actually part-time so that you can get to the next level. Step number 2, figure out what you want and need to delegate. Yes, that's the bottom line. Don't assume that your very first new hire is going to be an administrative assistant because it may not be the case. The only way to truly find out who exactly it is that you want in your business is to do a skills and task dump. Now, if you've been watching my videos for a while, you may have heard me talk about this skills or task dump. I use it all the time in my human resource consulting business. And that's because oftentimes I'm trying to help organizations reorganize their charts, figure out who their teams are, and then ultimately reconfigure things and restructure so they can get to that next level along with their team and their organizational processes. And my favorite thing to do to figure out exactly what positions and what folks they need to have on their team is to do a skills and task dump. Now, I'm going to actually give you one of my favorite tools, and that is my skills and task dump worksheet. You can download it and grab it. It's free for you to get, but it is going to help you work through figuring out exactly what you want and need to delegate. So go ahead and click the link in the description below or in the comments and grab it. Or you can also go to CherylCperez.com/skills dump worksheet and grab a copy. All right. So now let's talk about how to do this skills and task dump. And it's a really simple process, although it does take some time. I want you to, over the course of 2 weeks, track every single task that you do. Yes. And I want you to get that worksheet that I just mentioned and write them all on there. You're going to track over the course of a minimum of 2 weeks because throughout that 2 weeks, you are really needing to figure out exactly what it is that you do as a solopreneur every single day. And I mean every single task. The easiest way to do it is at the end of every day, block off in your calendar, complete task dump worksheet. Now, I used to do that, and I still actually do it when I'm thinking about who I want to bring on board to my team. And I will block off at least an hour and take the time to think back throughout my day and write down all of the tasks that I did. It's easier if I keep track on a daily basis because I very rarely will miss anything. And if I'm tracking it over the course of 2 weeks, I'm really going to get a good idea of what I do over a prolonged period of time. Now, when I first did this before I had my first employee, I probably had 10 pages of tasks and skills dump. But I want you to write all of those tasks down. Then at the end of that 2-week period, I want you to grab that worksheet, really take a hardcore look at all of those tasks and begin to very specifically and strategically go through each task individually, marking the column that says me or them. I only want you to put an X in the column if the task itself is something that only you can do and it is truly in your genius zone and is going to help your organization make money. Did you hear what I said?
Listen up, people!
I only want you to put the X in the me column if it is in your genius zone and will really help your business make money. I only want you to put the X in the me column if it is in your genius zone and will really help your business make money. Otherwise, I want you to put the X in the them column. And I want you to think long and hard about every single task. I don't want you to get caught up in what you want to do or what you like to do, or ultimately, can I delegate this, or will it be easier for me to do than to teach someone else? Don't even go there. I want you to legitimately and honestly put your X's in the me and them column. Then at the end of that process, you will have a complete idea of all of the tasks that are inside of your business, and specifically the tasks that you could be looking at delegating to someone else. And that is the beginning phase and the beginning steps in figuring out who you want to hire. You are going to take that information and move on to step 3. So let's head on to step 3 now. Now, step number 3 is create a scope of work or a job description. Yes, that is going to be critical in order for you to really be able to tell someone else exactly what you're looking for. As you go through the process of trying to hire whoever the who really is, they're going to want to know specifically what you are going to want them to do. By having a complete understanding and being able to dictate and provide them with a hard copy of something, you are setting the expectations of what the job really entails, and you are able to interview to those particular tasks. You're able to really ask questions that will reveal someone's skill set or someone's attitude or someone's understanding of each individual task. So I want you to take all of those tasks that you just put in the them column and transfer them to a whole separate blank piece of paper. And you can put bullet points next to each of those things. This isn't a formal job description structure, of course, but it is the beginning of what you are going to use to advertise and to look for that who, all right? So you're going to move all of those things over to a separate piece of paper, and ultimately, that will become your scope of work, your job description, and it will very clearly dictate exactly who it is that you are looking for and what you want them to do right before we move on to step number 4. Step number 4, determine what a person can do versus what a system can do. All right, now you've got that job description or scope of work draft kind of created, right? You've got that blank piece of paper with all of those tasks that you labeled as them tasks. We're not quite done yet. We need to scrub it a bit. So in this scrubbing process of that future scope of work and job description, I want you to really look at those tasks that you've already determined as them. And then right next to them, I want you to put a dash and a T next to any of the tasks that you have identified that there might be a system or some type of technology or piece of software or an app that can do that for you. The reason why I like to break out all of the technology, especially when you are a startup and you're looking for your first hire, is because the more tasks you give someone, the more money you are going to spend. So if we can identify tasks that you can then give to a system or get a cheap system to do ultimately for you, you're going to be giving that who less tasks, which ultimately is going to mean less money, or less time, which ultimately means less money. So it is very important for you to first figure out, hey, sending automatic customer service emails back. Can that be automated by an email system? Yes. So put a T next to that one. Or being the receptionist and answering calls that come into the office. Can that be automated, or can that be an automated receptionist? Yes, it can. So put a T next to that. Then you're going to have a whole separate task beginning of research and ideas around what software and technology can actually do that. For instance, my administrative assistant for years handled all of my calendaring, and I mean all of it. Once I finally adopted a calendar system into our lives, her actual participation in calling and going back and forth with people about getting them scheduled changed drastically. It began to free up at least 10 to 12 hours of her 40-hour work week every single week. It freed it up. And that meant that I could give her more things to to do for me, or I could actually drop her hours down and spend less money. Now, nobody likes the idea of thinking that robots or technology or software is going to take the place of human jobs and put Americans out of work. Look, this is business, boo. This ain't personal. You would not be a good CEO if you were not trying to strategically make sure that your business is working as cost effectively and as efficiently as possible. So don't get caught up in all of that putting Americans out of work shit. Okay? Okay. So now that you've figured out which one of those tasks is designed for technology, I want you to remove them from this document, and you'll be left with the tasks that only a person can do, and that person is a them. All right. Once you've done that, you have a really good scrubbed job description or scope of work, future job description or future scope of work, with some bullet points of exactly what you're looking for and exactly who you should be looking for in order to get those things done. And once you do that, it's time to move on to step number 5. So let's do that right now. And step number 5, review your final list and pick your person. Now, you have categorized this list and you know exactly what tasks and duties you want this new who to do. I want you to analyze those tasks and see if you can put them into a specific category. Are the tasks more administrative in nature? Are the tasks more marketing in nature? Are the tasks more financial in nature? Are the tasks, well, you get where I'm going with this, right? Put them into categories. Now, most of the time when I'm working with entrepreneurs and even in my own experiences in business, your very first employee is probably going to be someone who can help you with admin tasks and specifically like marketing or social media and stuff like that. So you can specifically look for a virtual assistant that has experience in all of your tasks, but you may find that your tasks all really are financial related and you should be looking for a bookkeeper. Bottom line, whatever you look at and whatever you figure out, you are ultimately going to want to make sure that now that you've got a good idea of who you're looking for and what specific tasks and duties you want them to handle, it's time to actually begin your recruiting process and your search. So I'm not going to get into a detailed recruiting process, but I do have a doozy that will help you find the dream team members that you ain't ever even thought you could find. But I can't get into that this week, but I am going to get into that for you next week. So if you have not subscribed already, please make sure that you do and click that bell so you don't miss any of it. Because next week, I'm about to reveal my senior professional in human resources, I am certified, y'all, recruiting process. I'm actually going to give it to you. So you see, it is not that hard to figure out who you should be hiring first in your business. If you go through these 5 steps, I guarantee you will have clarity and focus around who it is that you're looking to hire. And you will also be empowered as you go through that process of hiring that person, because you are going to be clear. And when you are clear, you are confident. And when you are confident, you are a boss. And when you are a boss, people want to work with you and for you. Trust me. So if you like this video, or if you've got any questions, or if you've already figured out who it is that you need to hire in your business first, please let me know in the comments below. I am dying to hear your feedback. And make sure that you subscribe again and hit that bell, because next week I'm going to be talking to you about the recruiting process, and I am so looking forward to that. And until next time, my loves, have a wonderful, wonderful, safe week, and I will see you on Tuesday. Bye-bye.